Hello and a very warm welcome then to stage 3 of this 99th Giro d'Italia. Another beautifully sunny day, a little bit more wind than previously, but Gelderland, where we're starting this Giro d'Italia, the province of the Netherlands, is actually the warmest region in the whole of Europe this weekend. The weather has come out to play for the Giro d'Italia. Below average temperatures in the Mediterranean for this time of year, and you can see splendid. Almost 250,000 people on the roadsides yesterday from Arnhem to Nijmegen, and we do it in reversal today. And just to add to the sense of deja vu, there are two of the same 3 breakaway riders from yesterday out there today. You might recognise the man in the yellow on the right. That's because you saw him 24 hours ago. That's Martin Cilingi, the retiring rider from the Netherlands. Also out there in the orange, white and navy blue is Giacomo Berlato, the man who stayed out for an extra 10 kilometres yesterday, the young 24-year-old from Italy. Today, those two are joined by Julen Amezqueta from the Basque Country in Spain. He rides for Villiers Southeast. And the other man in the breakaway with them, Johan van Zyl from Team Dimension Data and South Africa. Virtual standings with a gap of 5 minutes and 37 show Amezqueta in the provisional Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey, but it's flat as a pancake today. 104.4 kilometres. This has just got 1 star out of 5 on the difficulty rating today. This should be an easier sprint stage than yesterday, and for the moment, for the pink jersey of Tom Dumoulin, it's been a nice, quiet day. Marcel Kittel won yesterday. He is in the red points leaders jersey today, but he's just 1 second off the lead of Tom Dumoulin, so a first, second or third place at the finish, or even a cheeky little dart out for an intermediate sprint a little up the road for 3, 2 or 1 bonus seconds means that he could take the pink jersey as we head to Italy on Monday. 3.5 kilometres between the break and the peloton, being led as ever by Cheng Ji, the breakaway killer from China. Edic's quick step up there, Française de Jeu too. They want to contribute and force another sprint today. The break's had a maximum gap of around 8 minutes. Just over 100 kilometres remain. And it's a nice, calm ride for now on the Giro. Plenty to talk about though today. Don't go away. We're back with you on the home of cycling right after this. See you then. Agile Mondial started the Giro d'Italia with very high aims. Top 5 on GC, another top 10 they wanted. 2 leaders, Pozzovivo and Perrault. Perrault at 38 years of age making his Giro debut, but I'm afraid it might already be over. While we're away at the break, Perrault has gone down on a roundabout. Patrick Grech, his teammate, was in front of him. Perrault the second to go down, and I'm afraid he is in a bit of a mess. Face all cut up and cut open. As we see these images, I can tell you he's in the ambulance on the side of the road being treated. He's on his feet, but it doesn't look good for Jean-Christophe Perrault. Oldest ever Giro d'Italia debutant, a French former mountain biker, putting any Tour de France plans on the back burner this year, saying he didn't want to retire without racing the Giro d'Italia. The beautiful roads of Italy he was talking about. He's the second rider there, face down into the road, onto the curve, and Sean Kelly, I'm afraid it might be a struggle for him just to get to those beautiful roads of Italy. What a sickener to start off day 3.
Yes, and what a stupid crash, as you say in cycling terms, you know, going around the roundabout, his teammate in front. It looked like there was something on the road, that there had to be something the way Grech slided out, and Perrault tried to avoid him. The bike of Grech slided to the left, of course, and over the top of the bike and fell, we could see, very heavily there. Tried to save his face a bit, put his head back, but got his shoulder, his chest on the road, but still touched his face. We can see there the eyewear has just, you know, given him a good cut under the eye.
A real sickener to start, as we say. Real disappointment for Perrault at the moment. Thankfully he is being attended to by the medics, he's being treated, but as you can see, as Sean was saying, the eyewear's made a mess of his face. Remember, he was runner-up to Vincenzo Nibali at the Tour de France 2 years ago. And we will wait for news. In the meantime, wherever you're watching, a very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the last 100 kilometres of stage 3 of this Giro d'Italia. Perrault crashing behind. We wait to see if he will be able to continue in some guise or not. It did not look likely. I can tell you that there are 4 riders in the breakaway. Giacomo Berlato for a second successive day, the 24-year-old Italian from Nippo Vini Fantini. There is Jean-Christophe Perrault getting into the ambulance. And Age de Zer La Mondiale had disappointment at the start on stage 3 last year when Domenico Pozzovivo crashed, and we were all extremely worried for his life for a while. This thankfully doesn't look as serious. Jean-Christophe Perrault, after training very hard for the Giro d'Italia, I'm afraid will probably not make it to Italy. In the meantime, the Giro goes on. 98 kilometres to go. A little further up the road, we see Martin Cialinghi in the break yet again. He was there 24 hours earlier. He is a native of Arnhem, who was in the break from his town, in the break back to his town. And Sean, he's obviously got some very good legs at the start of this Giro.
Yes, well, I think he had good legs, and it's not the first time we've seen him in a big tour. Like we see him 2 years ago when we started in Belfast, very active in the first days. He's a breakaway specialist. Cialinghi, is a real powerful guy. He can go on, and if he gets to a position in the end of a stage where he have a good advantage, well, then he can push on very strongly. Yesterday, we did see the advantage they had was so slim, there was no point in doing that, so they threw in the towel as such quite early when they got the intermediate sprints and more so the mountain classification point over it. Well, then we could see after that they were just rolling up front, and they knew that it was just going to be time before they were reeled in with the peloton. And I think thinking of today as well, that was in their mind. They were saying, well, tomorrow's another day, let's spare what we've got now energy wise and try and repeat tomorrow. And he's managed it again. The interesting one in this race is that the breakaways are not having too much difficulty to get away. Sometimes in the start of a big 3-week tour, it can go on for 1-2 hours, attack after attack, before you're allowed to get out. It seems to be that they're being allowed out a bit easier this year, but still, you have to be good to be in the attacks from the start.
Yeah, completely flat stages here in the Netherlands as well, and the wind not blowing as hard or as harshly as it could do at this time of the year. We mentioned in the introduction to the programme today that this is the hottest region in Europe. What a coincidence, what a great turnout for the organisers, who I think will be very, very happy with the start on Dutch roads. Gelderland warmer than anywhere else in the Mediterranean even this weekend. 25 degrees today. It could have been oh so different if that wind was blowing, and perhaps another reason why the brakes have just been allowed to go easy, because they know, Sean, that they can be reeled in whenever they want.
Yes, well, I think when you allow a small breakaway, and that is the good thing as well, if you have maybe 8 or 10 riders up the road, well, then it's a bit more difficult for the team of race leader, also for the sprinters teams. They're a bit more concerned to control the situation later on the day. Where you have a 3-man group like yesterday, a 4-man group today, it's easier to control then as such. And we did hear Dumoulin talking. It was a relatively easy day yesterday, although his teammates mightn't agree, but still, you'd have to say they have had an easy day yesterday. Again today, for the race leader, it's not been too difficult, so they're just going to continue on holding the breakaway at a certain point, and then the sprinters teams will get more involved. And we have seen already Ethics Quickstep have been up there, FDJ have been up there, so to control the race here has not been too difficult for the race leader the past 2 days.
5 minutes for the breakaway, 95 kilometres remain. We had a little brief excursion into Germany yesterday. Marcel Kittel was the stage winner. He also took the points classification lead, so he wears the red jersey today. Tom Dumoulin leads by 1 second from him as we come through the feed zone. Dumoulin in pink. Omar Fraile is wearing the blue King of the Mountains jersey. Tobias Ludvigsson remaining the best young rider, so he's in white. And Martin Cialinghi's prize for the break yesterday was an 11-point lead over Giacomo Berlato in the intermediate sprints competition. The Italian, though, leads the Fuga Pinarello prize for the longest time in the break by 10 kilometres. Both of them out there, and you do get certain teams and riders, Sean, up for those, let's say, minor prizes, not even the jerseys in the Giro. Certainly for the Italian teams like Nippo Vini Fantini, to which Berlato belongs. And Villiers Southeast getting in the breakaway today with Amesqueta. Those breakaway prizes, minor jerseys, intermediate sprints, they're very, very important, aren't they?
Well, first of all, the jerseys are of major importance. First of all, to get into the breakaways of great importance, because you get airtime on all the TVs all over the world, and that is something for the team, for the sponsors. When you get into the breakaway, you're getting great exposure for your sponsors. That's one of the objectives that you come into this race, for the smaller teams especially, because in the end of the stage they are not going to be up there in the final battle for the stage victory or for the overall classification, so you can afford to send men out in the earlier days of the race. And then of course there is the mountain classification, the Pinarello, Fuga, all of those classifications are very important for the smaller teams. And you know, it's such a familiar sight that we see a lot of smaller teams trying to be present in the break in the early part of a big tour.
Tom Dumoulin leading the overall standings from Primož Roglic. Marcel Kittel at 1 second. Could take it off him today, but more about that as the day goes on. In the meantime, I've got to bring you all some very bad news, and that is that Jean-Christophe Perrault, making his Giro d'Italia debut at the age of 38, is not going to reach Italy. He's had to abandon the race. He's off to hospital to get that face that was cut open checked out. And as we get confirmation that Tom Dumoulin leads the Giro d'Italia after 2 days, it's going to be a real disappointment for Jean-Christophe Perrault. No chance for him to pull on the pink jersey this year, and he said he's going to call it a day at the end of the year. Sean Kelly, that must be an absolutely huge disappointment for him, working through all of the spring to come here to get ready. He rode the Tirreno Adriatico, which he doesn't usually do, trying to prepare for the Giro properly. And the man who's nicknamed JC, translating simply as JC, his initials, is out, and he won't be feeling very good about that.
No, well, it's you know, a horrible way to go out, and you know, you rethink about what happened, how the crash occurred. All of that, of course, you will do as well a bit later on, and the amount of work you put in, you know, pre-season, the training, then the races, as you said, Rob, and you know, to get ready. And when you look at where he was in the general classification, you know, 38 seconds, he was in a real good position. And in the next days, when we get back to Italy, these more difficult finishes, well, he could be very much up there in that shake in the general classification. But of course, you know, that is bike racing. One crash, 1 second, you're on the ground, and it's race over, and that is the case for Jean-Christophe Perrault. He's out of the race, and it's going to be very, very difficult. Yeah, it's always big disappointing when you go to any race, but certainly a 3-week tour more so.
Extreme disappointment then for Jean-Christophe Perrault and for Agir de Zer La Mondiale. In the meantime, we are 1 kilometre from the first of 2 intermediate sprints of the day. It will take place at Lochem. 4 riders in the break today as opposed to 3 yesterday. So 1 less point for those behind in the peloton to sprint for if they're going to have a go at it. For these guys, well, you're thinking Martin Cialinghi, who leads the intermediate sprints classification, will desperately want the points. Are they going to contest this? There are no bonus seconds available here. That's at the next and second intermediate sprint of the day. But there are points for the sprints classification and the points jersey, remember. In the meantime, it's all about getting lunch to those who might have missed it for Cannondale riders. This, though, the sprint, and yet again, thousands more people on the side of the road, decked out in pink, underneath the sunshine. The Giro d'Italia in the Netherlands proving to be a brilliant place to start. Just Pedlato at the front in the orange. Just behind him is Amezquita. On the left-hand side, you can see Cialinghi. And it looks as though they're going to have a go at this. Cialinghi coming to the front on the left. Puts a little bit of pressure onto the pedals. Cialinghi going out there. I think he desperately wants these points. And the Dutchman knows that he secured his first objective of the day. Cialinghi from Pedlato, from Amezquita, with the South African Marcel out there in 4th. So Cialinghi doing his job. Looks like he's enjoying himself out on his home roads. No reason not to be. Sean Peloton behind. We know that Marcel Kittel leads these points overall standings, with Cialinghi able to maybe get some more points and consolidate on that second place. But once more, 50 more points at the arrival today. I think the points jersey is going to be on the back of whoever wins the stage again.
Yes, well, it looks very much the case. I think we're looking again as going to be one of these big, big sprints again, as we had yesterday. The question is, Kittel, can anybody, match him? Yesterday he was so impressive, but he got, the perfect lead out. Everything went real well for Ethics Quick Step. They just brought him to the front at the right time and set him into a position and winning comfortably.
.88 kilometres to go on stage 3 of this Giro d'Italia. 5 minutes 38 seconds for a more than 4-man break-up in the road. Johan van Zyl of South Africa there for Dimension Data. Giacomo Berlato's the Italian in the break for the second day running for Nippo Vini Fantini. Cialinghi for Lotto NL Jumbo, and Amesqueta for Villa Triestina Southeast. All sorts of modes of transport out here. Bike paths on which to row them as well. There's Bellato back at the car. Big experience for the 24-year-old. It's only his second Giro d'Italia, and he's in ever so slightly different company today. Dimension Data have Johan van Zyl there. He's a 25-year-old South African. He's in the white and black jersey, just hidden behind the car there. Actually won stages in Rwanda and Korea before his biggest victory to date came on stage 5 of the Tour of Austria last year in 2015. Beat riders like David Tanner, Angel Vicioso. This is his second Grand Tour, and his first at the 2015 Giro, at the 2015 WorldTour, pardon me. Giro debut here. So then we're approaching this intermediate sprint with the peloton behind. Interesting to see what's going to happen. We've already got a few riders going up. Be nice to zoom in and see exactly what's going on. And it looks as though our camera crews might have just missed that. The host broadcasters down there not paying enough attention.
Looks like
Viviani did get out there in front for Sky. Yeah, just to explain, the pictures brought to us by Dutch television this weekend and Italian television once we get to Italy. In the meantime, someone's trying to break the land speed record, I think. Pedalling away furiously there. Good aerodynamics as well, Sean.
Yes, I was asking myself, does he have a motor, because he's going at a real fast rate, we can see here. But it looks like that it's pedal, you can see there, the knees popping up and down. So
glad you mentioned the motors, because 401 bikes, Sean, yesterday were checked from 17 teams by the UCI for motors and irregularities. It's something that's been bubbling up in racing over the last few months. Of course, we had Femke van den Driessen found with a motor in a cyclocross bike earlier this season. Until that point, there had been a lot of chatter and rumours, oh, there are motors in the peloton, we've got to watch out, and it sort of turned right then into a worrying reality for the UCI and everybody around in the world of cycling. The world governing body then said it developed a new system to detect the presence of motors supposedly hidden away. It uses a tablet computer, and up to the start of the Giro, 2,500 surprise tests have been performed. 507 of those at the Tour de Romandie at the end of April. I can tell you, since the start of the Giro, there's already been 1,000 more checks, roughly. The Italian newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport reported that before the end of the season, around 12,000 controls on competition bikes would be carried out. What do you think of it all, Sean?
well, of course, it's going on for a long time. How long ago is it since we remembered the affair Cancellara in the Tour of Flanders? That must be 5-6 years ago, and you know, there's been a lot of talk about it. It's good to see that they have some way of controlling the bikes. The computer now, it seems to be pretty simple. They can detect it, you know, quite rapidly and quite easily. There were a moment where they had to take, you know, the bike apart, and that was something the teams, the riders, certainly did not like. So, you know, it's certainly, you know, good to see that they can detect or check the bike very, very quickly, and that is a big advantage, and if something was needed.
Yeah, we've got a nice loud tune being played in the background, but while that's going on, we can tell you that there's talk of motors hidden in the bike frame. There's also apparently a €200,000 super magnetic wheel, which adds watts to performance. Lots spoken about this. Have you actually seen any of these mechanisms around, Sean?
No, I haven't seen them, but I haven't actually physically seen them.
No.
I have seen them. We remember on the Vuelta, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, there was a bike there which a guy crashed, and the bike was, you know, as it was swirling around the road, it still was kept going. And you know, there's other people. Greg LeMond has talked a bit. It was last year in the Tour of France about the motors. There's a lot of talk about it, but I have not physically seen it.
There's Julen Amesqueta. Did limited service before. He's actually from Navarra, which is very close to the Basque Country. Some political sensibilities in some parts of Navarra claim to be part of the Basque Country. But officially from Navarra, riding for an Italian team now, Amesqueta. Big test for him out in the breakaway, his first big test in the Giro d'Italia. Villa Southeast with a team hoping to try and take the pressure off maybe for them today. Of course, for these other teams, Sean, it's about getting the sponsor on the television. For Villiers Triestina Southeast, they haven't got a big lead out for Jakub Mareczko. They have one of the best sprinting talents in the peloton. For them, it's all about taking the pressure off and not having to do any of the chasing.
Well, certainly they did not have to do any chasing. That's something they really do not need, because if they can get and manage the breakaway, then in the final they can have, you know, a number of riders that can look after their sprinter, and already it's going to be very difficult for them against the bigger teams. So it's a perfect situation. I think if they did not have a man the breakaway, they'd still not contribute anything to the chase. They would just wait until the end anyway. But it's good to have a team. It takes the pressure off. Can take the pressure off the big sprint as well, because you have a man out there. It's good for the team. It's good exposure. So in the end, that might be, you know, a good thing, that there's not big pressure on their sprinter to really compete and to try and get results very early in the race.
A lot of teams lined up in formation. We've been through one intermediate sprint today. We can see the red jerseys there of Lotto Soudal. In and amongst them, right at the back, Sean, is Andre Greipel. Now, what happened to him yesterday? Because he wasn't in the top 10. We hardly saw him on the run-in.
Well, I think at 4 kilometres ago it looked good for Greipel and Lotto. They were in a real good position, but then a kilometre and a half, 2 kilometres of the finish just started to fall apart, and that is the difficult one. If you go to the front too early and you take it up a bit too earlier on, well, then you can pay the price. And, you know, Lotto, they did have a problem yesterday. They just could not keep it going, and of course we know Greipel as well. He needs a good lead out train to take him all the way to that final 200 metres until he take up the sprint himself. He doesn't like having to, you know, to move about and push about. We did see Kittel yesterday when he was being taken up by his Quick Step teammates. He was squeezed out a little bit at times. He had to push in to get through there, but he's able to do that very well, and I think that's a problem. It's a known thing for Greipel. He doesn't like to have to fight for positions, and when he lost the train, then yesterday it all fell apart.
Interesting to see the difference in fashions and tactics with lead-out trains now. We were talking with one of our colleagues earlier on today about the fact that it's not like it was a few years ago now, when teams take it up very early, 20, 15, 10 kilometres to go, and go all the way to the end. They just don't, those riders anymore. Plus there are GC teams also fighting, doing a lot of the pulling. Quick Step this season with Marcel Kittel. The last few wins they've got out of the 9 he's picked up this season so far, they've appeared right at the end. Last 2 kilometres, last 1.5 kilometres, it's working for them.
Well, it's working for them, and when you look at his Quick Step, you know, they have the team they've got in there. You know, all them riders can ride pretty much in the end. The probably weakest one is Peter Seri, who is a good climber. He might not have that power or, you know, the pushing ability to keep up there, but apart from that, like, there's all able to stay up in the final. As we can see, Kittel here just being paced along by the team car. But if you look at Lotto Soudal, there's, you know, a number of riders there. They would not be able to match the lineup of Ethics Quick Step. So you talk about going back a number of years ago. You look at the time of Mariano Cipollini, like, he had a team totally built around him. They were only there for the sprints, where, you know, a lot of the teams now, they have a guy who can do a little bit in the general classification, possibly a top 10 or a top 15. And if you have somebody look after that guy, well, then that's 2 riders you have, you know, that's not really good for the lead out train. So 2 riders missing, 3 riders missing, well, that means a lot in the end, and that's where Ethics Quick Step are really strong. We did see yesterday when they went about their business, they did it perfectly.
Marcel Kittel wearing the red today as the leader of the points classification. He's 27, he's from Arnstadt in Germany. He's got a peculiar 100% win record at the Giro, and it's peculiar in the sense that he's won all 3 road stages that he's ever ridden on the Tour of Italy, Marcel Kittel, but none of them have taken place on Italian roads so far. He won in Belfast in the rain a couple of years ago. He won in Dublin the day after, when it had just about dried up in a very difficult approach, a couple of little chicanes in towards the finish. He was a long way behind and made himself back up towards the front just in time there, and he won perfectly in Nijmegen yesterday, and when he hit the front, it really was not in doubt. Do you expect him to carry on to Italy this time and try and win a few stages there?
Well, hope so. When we see him back in Belfast and Dublin 2 years ago, we're saying how many stages is he going to win in this Giro, and then he just got sick and never got back to Italy, got back to Italian soil. Hopefully, this year that we will see him getting to Italy, because he's looking very impressive. And yesterday it was amazing. They moved up there in that final, even to do that in the final kilometre and a half, to be able to move up from maybe 25th position, the way the Ethics Quick Step riders done that. And the riders that are doing that, of course, they get you to the position, but then Kittel has to make the sprint himself. He arrived in the wheel there of De Marais from FDJ, and then he was waiting for De Marais. I think he was saying, is he ever going to start the sprint? And eventually he decided now is the moment, because we're going to get caught from riders coming from behind. He was afraid of that flush of riders coming up left and right. And he took up the sprint, and we could see Delange made the move to just get out of the way, and he always made contact with Kittel, but the moment Kittel just turned on the gas, he was just going away all the time from everybody else.
Just under 80 k's to go. Marcel, Cialinghi, Berlato and Amezquita all out there in the break. 5 minutes and 31. The gap is holding nice and steady, nice and stable at the minute. And we're heading towards the second of 2 intermediate sprints of the day. After that, we'll have one climb, a 4th category climb for the King of the Mountains. That will come at Postbank. We expect a sprint finish after 2 laps. And then a transfer to Italy tomorrow. 2 charter flights from Amsterdam all the way down to Lamezia Terme down in Calabria. Thompson and Niki Lauda's own airline taking them down there. Hope the piloting's not being done by him. It might be a rough ride, as you were saying, Sean, before we went on air otherwise. We're off for a quick break. We'll be back with the rest of this 3rd stage of the Giro in just a minute on the home of cycling. Sean, I'm glad you mentioned Marcel Kittel looked good on a bike yesterday, because the Italian press are obsessed with looks at the opening of this Giro d'Italia. Gazzetta dello Sport today did a huge 2-page spread about how good Kittel and Dumoulin looked. They were the poster boys of cycling, they were saying. It was Ciro Scognamiglio, the well-known Italian journalist, who was saying that Marcel Kittel has a physique like Apollo, the Greek god. Tom Dumoulin has magnetic eyes. They could not believe how good they had the pictures for the papers. It's been a real obsession with aesthetics, to go with Italian culture really. Everybody decked out in pink. They've loved the way that the Giro's looked on television. They talked about the beauty of the Giro, the elegance of the Maglia Rosa yesterday on the shoulders of Tom Dumoulin, and Marcel Kittel playing up to the part. He was there yesterday with his girlfriend at the finish line as well, waiting to congratulate him, pardon me. She's actually Dutch, is Tess van Piekaerts, 23-year-old Dutch volleyball international. They actually met a couple of years ago through Tom Vehlers, who was then Marcel Kittel's teammate at Giant Alpecin. Marcel Kittel obviously happy on the bike, happy off it as well, and having a great start of the season so far. 9 victories. Yesterday was Grand Tour victory number 12. Let's go and hear what his sports director thinks of it all. Here's Davide Bramati. Well, congratulations for that yesterday. 1 second from the pink jersey now. Wow, the team did a great job yesterday. We're very happy. Today's a new day. We don't take anything for granted, because we have strong opponents. I think we've got to be careful. We're close to the pink jersey. It'd be nice to be back in Italy wearing it, I think, and let's see what we can do today. Well, Marcel yesterday was on the top of his form, yeah? Yeah, he's in good condition. Everybody managed to see that in the prologue. Yesterday he did a great sprint, thanks also to a great team. The teamwork was payoff for Kittel, and we're really satisfied. Today's slightly different than yesterday. More wind, peloton will be a bit more nervous, so we'll see. Interesting, a few people commenting on the extra wind, as we were talking about all things good looking, and there's Pipo Pozzato with his long locks showing off his tattoos and style on the bike at the back of the peloton, as he invariably is to be found nowadays. But going back to the serious nature of everything today, Sean, there is a bit more wind about. We've seen the examples of that nervousness as well. We've seen it in a nasty fashion with the first abandonment of this Giro, with Jean-Christophe Perrault having that very nasty crash and off to hospital to get his face checked out, and we hope he's okay. We get plenty of encouragement there for Tom Dumoulin on the roundabouts, but this is the Netherlands. There's a bit of wind, lots of crowds, lots of craziness around, and sure, more importantly and worryingly for the riders, lots of road furniture. GC guys will not be going to sleep today.
No time to sleep at all. In the beginning of a big race like this, the first days you certainly, don't get any time to relax, and today seems to be a little bit more urgency in the front of the peloton. Yesterday we did see for a long time they were floating along. Here we can see, they're travelling 60 kilometers per hour at the moment. We can see the breakaway advantage 4:41 at the moment, still with just under 74 kilometers to go. It looks like that it's starting to build momentum much earlier in the day. Yesterday it went on for a long time where the peloton rode along at a bit more casual pace. Is that because of the wind? Possibly. Everybody's saying there's a little bit more wind forecasted out there today, so that could be the reason that everybody just wants to play safe, be in the front of affairs, and for that reason just keep it much faster in the front of the peloton. We can see that there was teams there of 5-6 riders already lining up on the front of the peloton. We did see Sky, we see a number of other teams there who are trying to boss the front of the peloton.
190 kilometers in total today. Yam Cycling taking things up and starting to do a bit of work at the front of the peloton. They're looking after Matteo Pellucci today. Pellucci, one of a number of other sprinters there. We'll remind you of exactly who is around. All the talk of Marcel, Kittel, Andre Greipel, Arnaud Demar, but we've seen Elia Viviani winning that first little dot for extra intermediate sprint points. Giacomo Nizzolo did that on 2 occasions yesterday. Jakub Mareczko, the young upstart from Italy, from Brescia in the north of the nation. Nikis Arndt is there, but you expect he's going to be doing a bit of a job for Tom Dumoulin today. Caleb Ewan comes to the Giro d'Italia. It's his second Grand Tour. He said the Vuelta last year was a real eye-opener for him. Now he knows what to expect, he says. And I suppose one thing you can expect, Sean, and one thing you learn from a Grand Tour is that after each disappointment, if you're a sprinter in a race such as this with 7 opportunities, you're soon going to get another chance.
Well, yes, you'd be hoping that there would be a number of chances here, but again, there's always the pressure on. If you can get one early, well, that takes the pressure off totally, and everybody's much more relaxed. The sprinter, the rider themselves, and of course in the team as well, the director sportive especially, because some of those guys can be really difficult. Leave it at that. And
naming no names, are you?
As you said, when you go to your first big tour, and that was something I said to a good friend of mine, Sam Bennett, last year when he was going to the Tour of France. I said, the race you have ridden up to now, there's going to be 2 steps up in the Tour of France. And he said to me, after 4 or 5 days, he was suffering, he was sick before the Tour of France. He said, it's just amazing the way the speed is going. Nobody gives an inch. Everybody is fighting for every inch in the front of the peloton. He said it's just totally different to what you ride before that. So the big tours are certainly a big eye-opener for the first timers.
And certainly somebody like Mareczko as well. Of course, we talked about Ewan, but this is Mareczko's first Giro d'Italia. He's stepping up 2 levels as well because he's riding for a professional continental team.
Yes, well, of course the continental teams, you ride good races. You ride,
but not as often as if you're in a World Tour
Not as often,
team.
but still you get a taste of, some very good races. But when you step up to the Grand Tours, the 3-weekers, then it's a different level once again.
Love to hear from you as always. Hashtag Home of Cycling for all your views on Twitter. The wind is blowing. Something was about to happen when Yam Cycling came to the front of the peloton. We weren't far away from the intermediate sprints, but Tozzato's got in on the act. A lot of other teams as well. We're seeing riders distance. 3 minutes and 52 to the break, when all this agitation behind could kill a lot of the ambitions of the breakaways later on today. But in the peloton, they've suddenly gone to work. We said you could not sleep as a GC rider today. And there are echelons already. It's going to be a big, big stretch. The sports directors have obviously read the book today. They knew that there was a big open bit of road coming along. BMC are up there trying to make the difference. Sky, you've got a couple of riders, and suddenly, on what was supposed to be a quiet moment for GC riders, everybody is being brought to the front. Viewers in the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland join us again as the wind is blowing. Sean Kelly, this is what we wanted today.
Yes, well, that's what we want. That's what our viewers want to see. A very fast, aggressive racing, and we're getting that now. And
we've had a crash behind. Rider down from Dimension Data. That is J. Robert Thompson. There's a man in front of him in green. He's riding for Bardiani, and that rider who's down for Bardiani is Mirko Maestri, the second rider to start the time trial the other day. Everything's a little more nervous than you might have expected it to be on narrow road, Sean, road furniture, and this is happening because riders are all desperate to be up at the front and not caught out in these winds.
Well, we can see there the road just, tightened up a bit, and on the right-hand side of our picture we could see, riders just touching them plastic barriers and down they go. And we're racing full on at the moment, and that is a problem when you're just, full gas, then a little bit of anything that will obstruct the peloton, down they go.
Well, the wind's on now, but while it was all nice and calm, unfortunately for Agile des Ailes Mondial, unfortunately for the oldest debutant at the Giro d'Italia, he didn't make it to Italy. Jean-Christophe Perrault went down, touching the wheel of his teammate Patrick Gretsch, who was taken down on that roundabout there. And the 38-year-old Frenchman who was second in the Tour de France a couple of years ago to Vincenzo Nibali, making his Giro debut, saying he wanted to ride on what he described as the beautiful roads of Italy. He's wearing number 9 down there. He was just about able to get to his feet, but I'm afraid not able to get back on his bike again. And some very nasty lacerations to the face meant that he had to go to hospital. Months and months of preparation down the drain. Agile des Ailes down to 8 men, and the first man to climb off is Perrault. Back live, 67 kilometres to go, and you can see all the agitation behind Sean on that open road has just destroyed a minute off of that breakaway advantage, down to 3 minutes 37. At the minute, no big names caught out behind, but we've seen a few riders not up there in the general classification. Those, notably, who were hanging out at the back, the likes of Pozzato. We saw a couple of riders from Movistar. Herrada was caught, as was Jascha Sütterlin, and the nerves are very frayed.
Well, I think we could see that coming. It was, brewing for quite a while. There was a lot of movement on the front of the peloton, and the teams, they knew that. You could see, you could feel the tension there, and of course a lot of the teams would have a team car that would drive the route before the race, and they would, be radioing back and saying, from this point it opens up, there's a lot of wind, it's a side wind, that's where you have to be in the front. And I think that was the results we were seeing of that. The teams, they were setting the pace, getting their important men to the front, and it was just going faster and faster. Will that continue now? I think it'll probably be maybe just a section where we're in that area. It will settle down again, and if it does not, well, then the breakaway will be swallowed up very quickly if they continue at this rate back in peloton.
Pink jersey safely at the front. Tom Dumoulin is worried about losing it to Marcel Kittel today. There's not much he can do in that respect, because Kittel, if he takes any bonus seconds, first, second or third in the final sprint, nothing that Tom Dumoulin will be able to do as a non-sprinter himself. He can't worry about that. He's just to get home safe and see what happens in and around him. For the minute, he has to be kept up at the front because we've had a few crosswinds. Vincenzo Nibali is there as well. And as we saw at the Tour de France last year, Sean, these are the sorts of days in the Netherlands where, even though it's flat, you have to have your wits about you if you're a GC contender.
Well, you have to, and it's not a comfortable time for some of the GC contenders. If you look at the lightweight guys who do not like this sort of condition, well then it's very difficult at times for them. And if you look at, like, if a Pozzovivo, for example, a tiny lightweight guy, he doesn't like this at all. But he is lucky because the weather conditions could be much worse here. We could have had rain, windy conditions, and if that was the case yesterday, and again another one here.
Well, a couple of riders off. One from Orica Green Edge, who we can see just getting back on his bike. Looked as though it might have been Esteban Chavez. Didn't look to be hurt or damaged. Also getting off his bike there was Svein Tuft.
So he went here.
Sky rider there is Nicholas Roach. No, it's Ian Boswell, pardon me. And Svein Tuft just going and checking a few running repairs before he gets back on. But a narrowing of the road and that desperation to be right up at the front. The road's not wide enough for everybody to be there, is it? Tuft just being checked out by the doctor as well. There's a rider from Tinkoff involved on the right-hand side. That rider from Tinkoff, number 195, is Jay McCarthy. And also a Lotto jersey a little further up the road as well. In the meantime, back in the breakaway, not even those on the motorbikes could keep up with them, they're riding so well. And you can just get the indication of where the wind is blowing from there. And again, it's blowing once more because Lotto Soudal want to try and put Marcel Kittel under pressure here.
Yes, well, I think specialists in this discipline, Lotto Soudal, you know, they can ride so strong and in the front, and they have a few riders who can do that well. And what better place to be, just, you know, if you're going through that area where it is windy, it's very open, put your men on the front, line it out. It makes it safe for everybody as well, because we did see in that village there where it does just tighten up a bit, it's always a danger one, and, you know, it's risk of riders falling off. When you have it going at this rate, well, then we can see a line of riders, then it's a much safer situation for everybody.
Well, the man who was caught up in all that is Adam Hansen, record breaker on Grand Tours, 14 successfully. And look at this, even the local bars painted itself pink. Not quite sure they got the right shade there, but it did the job. Look at all that, more traffic islands in the middle of the road there. I really hope all the signallers, flaggers and the padding's been put out there. This could get really, really messy as we see our first sighting of the season of the man they call the Duvel in these parts, Didi Senf, Didi the Devil. He's supposed to have retired a couple of years ago, but he's got a second wind, hasn't he? Back in the last 18 months or so, over a few health problems he had. And Didi on the road, lighting up the Grand Tours. Well, there are those signallers we mentioned. .63 to go. In the meantime, Nibali in his Italian champions jersey. He's got the turquoise jersey and shorts on, but it's got the Italian flag across his back. He's the race favourite overall, being kept nice and safe to the front. Marcel Kittel in and around there at the minute. Tim Wellens on the right-hand side for Lotto Soudal. Obviously, Andre Greipel must be feeling a little better today, because they're really pulling to try and distance any rivals. And there are that many good sprinters here, Sean, that if you put somebody under pressure, not necessarily getting them out of the way and putting them out of the finale, but if you make them do that little bit much work, it's very much harder towards the end of the day to find the energy to sprint properly.
Well, yes, it helps in a number of ways. First of all, you know, you take the riders and your team leader, your sprinter.
Look at all these riders who have been distanced. Sorry, Sean, because there's a lot of riders in this group. Let's start looking down for numbers. Frances Dejeau in particular have 3-4 riders there. A couple of riders from Team Sky as well. Number 184 is Sebastian Henao. 182 is Boswell. On the right-hand side, 165 is Vorobiev. And already talking about anybody sprinting, Vorobiev was up there in the top 10 yesterday, so if you're Lotto Soudal, that's one less rival already.
Yes, well, there's certainly some riders that are good in the sprint that are getting cut out here, and the question is now, you know, will it continue out front? We can see it's grouping up out in the front end of the group, so that means it's slowing down a bit. So maybe we're out of that very open, more windy area, and if that is the case, well, then it will slow down. But you can feel that it is nervous, you know, up in the front of the peloton. And of course, now we're coming to the second sprint of the day as well, so it's going to go on. Maybe after that it can slow down, but again, very nervous times for everybody, and that chasing group is just fighting big time to get back into the main peloton.
Well, look at this: Cannondale with Uran, Tinkoff with Maika, you've got Heystal from Trek, you have Astana for Vincenzo Nibali. You'd think we were coming into the first big climb of this Giro d'Italia, wouldn't you? Not a sprinters team in sight at the front. Some big sprinters dropped off the back. I can tell you, I saw Jakub Mareczko, one of the most talented Italian sprinters of recent generations, in that group that's distanced, and already 35 seconds behind on the road. In the meantime, as we look at that last group here, the breakaway having 2 minutes and 49 on the pink jersey group. Look else down here. Rick Sabel's in this group. Joe Ropskops is in the group as well. Andre Amador in this group at the back, and that is not quite panic stations from Movistar, but it's something they won't be happy about.
No, not happy at all. And Amador there, you know, he is looking okay for the moment. He's not too panicked, but again, you know, it's always a delicate moment, because if it does continue, and when you look at the intermediate sprint coming up, the second one of the day, then of course we have that mountain classification point, and for that reason as well, there's a lot of nervousness here, because the mountain point, I think the road will be a bit narrower, and I think the riders are thinking that, but we can see there that they have the main peloton in view, and again it looks like they're slowing down a bit, so they should make it all back together again, and there'll be a lot of riders hopefully this is, you know, the windiest part of the day over, that will not have a repeat of this a number of more times.
And you can hear it. Svein Tuft on the right hand side, 109 there for Lampres Petilli, who's been caught out. 60 kilometres to go. We turned up with the sunshine. We were wondering, well, are we not going to get that typical traditional Dutch weather? Sean, this is all that bunching up at the front now. It is probably going to come back together here. Française des Jeux had almost everybody that was important in their lead-out train in that second group there. Fischer was there, Delage the lead-out man as well. I think that Arnaud Demar was in the front group and had just stayed there. As we see, even a pink castle comes to greet the riders. Coming through Dieren, you can see the home of the Gazelle bicycling manufacturer. And of course linked to one of your former colleagues in the peloton, Eric Brücking, who was on the podium of the Giro d'Italia twice.
Yes, Brücking, of course, on the Tour of France to Giro. He was a specialist in stage racing, and the Gazelle brand, his father, I think, he might have owned the brand, or certainly was a director of the company, and we're going through that area, and a bit later on we go through the town of Eric Brücking as well.
Eric Brücking, by the way, we mentioned him on day one because he's the best ever Dutch finisher at the Giro d'Italia. No Dutchman has ever won the Giro. No pressure, Tom Dumoulin, who's in pink at the minute. Tom Dumoulin, by the way, if he were to carry it all the way through, he'd be the first man since Gianni Bugno in 1990 to do what they call a sunrise to sunset jersey from start to finish. Only 4 riders have ever done it. First back in 1919 with Girardengo. Binder did it in 27. But of course Grand Tours weren't as long then, although the stages were a little bit more hellish, 400 kilometres and the like. Merckx in 73, Bugno in 1990. In the meantime, for overall standings, I'm going to take a rain check on that graphic. I'm not sure that our mathematicians in the graphics department have got that right for now.
It must be a Dutchman is in there. I think he's given extra points to Tellingy because it doesn't look correct. He seems to be, you know, moving ahead of Kittel a bit too much.
We'll see how that goes towards the end of the day. Tellingy, though, is certainly enjoying his time out there. And it is all coming back together towards the back. Mikel Nieve, another Sky Riders who was caught out, and that's no real surprise given the fact that he's not really a flat racer. This is an interesting bit of road, Sean. If you're caught on the wrong side here, it's a bunny hop and a half to get over the right side.
Yes, it would need to be a Peter Sagan to get over that one.
Bobridge towards the back. We talked about riders who like to hang out at the back. Yesterday, Bobridge was one of them as they come through the cars. We've seen Pozzato there. And on terrain such as this, Sean, surely those guys are experienced enough to know that this can happen.
Well, they are experienced enough, and I think you know, they're just not concerned really. If they get blown out in a group, they're not too concerned about losing time.
We're in one of the most beautiful parts of the Netherlands. Stately homes, long avenues. Apparently the town we've just been through has won the prize for the most beautiful avenue in the whole of the Netherlands. Beech trees either side, sunshine today. Everything decked out in pink, although some sections of society haven't bothered for that. The towns and the bars have, those who love the sport, showing off the Netherlands to the world. Race televised in about 170 countries this year. Great audience. Not bad value as well. Start of the Tour de France costs between around 15 and 18 million euros. Giro d'Italia were told 3 and 5 million euros. 3 hours and 10 minutes, pardon me, into this third stage, and the breakaway has been going a little under the radar in the last half an hour because we've had so much crosswind action in the peloton behind. Still consists though of the 4 riders. Marcel, the South African, in the white and black there. There's Berlato, Amiskita and Chalingi. Average race speed up at well above 42 kilometers per hour, so we're a little faster than 24 hours ago. So much crosswind action going on behind. Fabian Cancellara riding himself into a bit more strength. Struggled towards the end of yesterday, lost a bit of time. Struggled with what he called a stomach illness. Lost a lot of fluid, a lot of power. He'll be hoping to rest up and recover in time for the Chianti time trial on stage 9. I think he'll be wanting to feel better by the time he gets to the south of Italy. That's where his family's from, his parents, although he is a native of Bern in Switzerland, of course. Cancellara, fluent Italian speaker. And talking of people who are fluent in the language of their parents, Andrei Amador, his mum's Russian, understands a bit of the language. He was out the back, distanced early on. Now he's back towards the front and being kept safe by his Movistar teammates. Almost 2 kilometers on the road separate the breakaway from the main group. Main group with the pink jersey of Tom Dumoulin in it. 54.8 kilometers to go on the day. It's one of the very short rises of the day as Dumoulin just radios in. Big job for Tom Stamschneider to do on the left-hand side now. Impressed with Cannondale yesterday, Sean. They were doing some great work for Rigoberto Urán. They look reinvigorated as a team with a proper leader who they can be confident in now, you'd have to say.
And rightly so. I think Urán, he's proved in the Giro, been on the podium a number of times. So it's normal that they are, looking after him. And in these early days, that's what the team have got to do. Make sure you keep him out of danger. Do not lose any time. And if Urán gets into shape, if he's in the form, that he has been in the past in the Giro, well, he's, possible winner. Certainly a podium is possible. And you have to, look after the guy in the earlier days.
1 kilometre to the top of the only categorised climb of the day. It's a climb at Postbank, a 4th category climb. Average gradient nice and easy at around 3%, but there's a little nasty section at around 12%. At the front here of the breakaway, you have Johan van Zijl. Not to be confused with his Twitter handle, that's Von Snail. Nice self-deprecating attempt at a take on his name, but he's probably the strongest climber in this group. Alongside him there, Chalingi, who's a good fighter, but on these lighter gradients, might be interesting to try and hold on. And of course, points for him mean that he can go into the blue jersey. Blue jersey on the back of Omar Fraile today. And by the way, Fraile holding the jersey last night. Excellent King of the Mountains performance at the Vuelta means that he has the last 20 Mountains jerseys in Grand Tours, given the fact that the Vuelta was the last Grand Tour of last year and this is the first of 2016. Shake of the head there from Berlato. Wonder if Chalingi's just asking a few questions. Guys, are you going for this? What's happening? Wondering if he needs to waste any energy. We've seen Berlato and Chalingi in conversation early on today. There's Amesqueta at the back, waiting, watching. And here he goes, left-hand side. Chalingi is going to sprint for it, though. Berlato's there. Marcel is not interested. Chalingi certainly is. And I think Chalingi, if he can hold this, will be going into the blue jersey. Another few hundred meters to go, though. Chalingi looking strong. Look at all these fans at the top here. 125 to go as he goes through a wall of Dutch fans on the way back to his hometown. 50 meters to the top. Chalingi's going to do it. Long, long way out to wind up that sprint. And Martin Chalingi wins his prize. It will be the blue King of the Mountains jersey at the end of the day for him. Amesqueta in 2nd place, and a nice little hors d'oeuvre there with 53 kilometers to go. That hurt. And I think he'll be well reported.
Deep breaths.
He'll feel better after a while, won't he? Certainly when he's on the podium in front of all of his family and friends in his hometown in Arnhem.
Well, again, we could see there, in the final couple of 100 meters, there was, the tension was building, a little bit like yesterday. And Chalingi, he knew that, he had to try and, get this one right and take maximum points. And of course, for him, I think it was the objective at the early part of the race, get into the breakaways and get a jersey. And he's done the job now, and he's going to be on the podium this evening. And we could see there, he was taking a couple of deep breaths just to recover because he had went 100%, gave it his all.
Giving it his all, as is Fabian Cancellara, just to hang on at the back today, just in front of him wearing the blue jersey. is Alexander Foliforov riding for the Gazprom team. 219 there is Erget Jupa, the Albanian rider for Villa Triestina. And Adam Hansen back in the group towards the back. Now this breakaway trying to continue, but it's a small gap with 52 kilometres to go.
Yes, we can see here they're just congratulating each other, and it is a small gap because of the way the peloton have been going. Just over 2 minutes, still with 52.3 to go. Things might settle down again. They might be allowed to pull out this advantage, but again, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to see them with any chance of surviving and going on for a stage victory, because you can see the teams are, just represented up front. General classification men, we've seen a little bit of a nervous moment. I think everybody will be nervous all the way to the finish.
See it from Cialinghi before the day.
Can you describe the atmosphere on the road yesterday when you were in the breakaway?
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's like being on a roller coaster, and I mean the adrenaline rush, feeling through my body from really from the start to the finish. Really unbelievable. I mean, there's people I know, but I mean 99.9% of the people I don't know, but they're all so enthusiastic, and it's really, really, really nice to see.
Enthusiastic, there are almost 250,000 of them on the side of the roads yesterday. Superb support for the Giro d'Italia in its Dutch start. This is the third and final stage here before we head to the south of Italy and the region of Calabria. Even some of the sheep have got dressed up. Tom Dumoulin was dressed up in pink yesterday. He said he even received a marriage proposal on the side of the road. Naturally and quite seriously he said, well, no, I had to say no. My girlfriend's the one that I hope that's going to ask me. Marcel, Cialinghi, Bedlato and Ameschetta up the road. 51 k's to go, 2 minutes and 5. Some beautiful, beautiful countryside around here. Around Potsdam right now. We've been through Lochem and Dienen. 2 minutes is the gap. Martin Cialinghi will be the new king of the mountains after stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia. He's also picked up sprint points. He's also picked up points in the points competition. Of course, there is a different awarding of number of sprint points to points competition, so he is actually leading Marcel Kittel in that prize as well. There is the overall climber standings. He leads Freile by 2 after picking up a couple of points yesterday. 5-3 is the difference. Let's turn our attention to the pink jersey. Tom Dumoulin had 2 excellent days. He won the jersey, kept it. Could be out of his hands whether he keeps it or not today, though. Marcel Kittel needs just 1 second. Well, before we build up to that, what does a Grand Tour take out of you? It sounds as though those looking at Thomas de Gent, at his Twitter profile, have been adding things up in terms of calories. With the Giro on its way, here's how much energy riders will express in cheeseburgers. We're told that it's 396 cheeseburgers you could ride the Giro d'Italia on without picking up any weight gain. So if you're thinking you're going to the Golden Arches or somewhere similar soon, think about how many 1,000 kilometres you're going to have to ride to get rid of them. You tried that theory, Sean. Did you ever ride on burgers?
Are they single or double deckers? So all you guys, club riders, don't be worried about having a burger this evening after your club ride on the day. When you do your 50 or 60 or 70 mile, you're entitled to have a burger and a chip this evening.
What's your meal of choice after your club rides nowadays, Sean?
Pasta, of course.
Pasta, always. Certainly in the month of May.
Pasta da mama.
Well, 49 k's to go. Might be the last Dutch meal on offer tonight, because it certainly will be southern Italian food next week. In fact, the nutrition's one of the areas that's really improved since your time in cycling, hasn't it, Sean? You've got every team's got their chefs now, and they make such an effort so that the riders over a 3-week period might not even have to eat the same thing twice.
Well, it's amazing now the diet, the way they look at it in the teams, and it changed during my career. When I started out professional, the riders were eating everything and anything and drinking almost everything and anything, and that's all changed over the years. I think I was lucky when I did start professional. I was with a guy who was very much into that, a long ways ahead of his time, Jean de Gabaldi, and it stuck with me all through my career. But in the past 15-20 years, the nutrition has changed big time, and we know now the riders, when they finish, for example, it's not the baguette, cheese and ham anymore. It's the recovery shake, and then out on the road as well, the feed bag. It's totally changed. Back in my day, it all had to be prepared by the masseur of the team, the helpers, where they had to make the bread rolls with cheese or with ham. You had rice cake, you had all of that stuff, where now it's all energy bar, energy gel. It's got much more easy work for the team helpers to prepare the musettes for the following day, but it also is better for the riders by a long shot.
In the Velp, and it's 12th century church. That's the castle we're looking at now, though. Everywhere seems to decorated the gardens. It's almost like Tour de France in July, where you see all the bicycles done by the schools and the farms, the villages. Netherlands has made a real effort. What's going to happen to this breakaway today? 2 minutes and 15. I think back in the peloton, Sean, they certainly won't want to get anywhere near catching them yet, will they?
No. Well, there's a lot of teams will not want to catch them. They want the break to just leave them hang out there. But we're going through an area, as we can see here, you're in the sunlight and then you go into the shade. It's a little bit dangerous back in the peloton when it's very, very packed together and riders are trying to move up. It's a little bit of a danger part of the route we're on, and I think the teams will be concerned about that, and it looks like they're not going to totally knock it off for the moment, because the advantage has went out. 2:32 at the moment. It was a bit less than that, but still we can see, and when you see the tail end of the peloton, it's going quite fast back there all the time.
Turning our attention to the sprint then, who can stop Marcel Kittel today?
Well, it's difficult to say. If Kittel gets the right positioning in the final couple of 100 metres, if he is taken to the place where he was yesterday, take him into that 200 metres before the finish by the team, or if he's in other sprinters' wheels, well, then he's going to be so difficult to beat. But again, there's so much movement in the final kilometres. Even the Kittel and Ethics Quickstep, they can have problems, they can get crowded out. Yesterday it worked quite well for them. Will they try and do the same today, or will they take it up with the full team in the front a bit earlier? That is something to wait and see. But in a sprint, it's just so tight there. Just a little moment and you get pushed out a bit, the door closes, then you can be in a position where it's just too late to get back in there. So that's what you're hoping as a sprinter, because I think the other guys are saying, well, if Kittel gets into the the position where he can take up his sprint and get a real straight run at it, he's going to be impossible to beat. But you're always hoping that he will have a little bit more difficulty in the one today.
Right, Marcel Kittel does manage to finish first, second or third. He'll take the pink jersey. 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds respectively for first, second and third. And this is what you were talking about here, Sean. A little further back in the peloton we had a couple of riders who've had a bit of a problem. Francis de Jeux waiting, which suggests it's Arnaud Demar.
Yes, it looked like the first one there looked like Arnaud Demar, and again it's that area where we can we can see here it's just the shade of the trees is just changing all the time, and of course with your shades that is difficult when it's very, very packed together. And it looked like he was straight in his bars there. It looked like that he did touch a wheel and go down.
Subject to some controversy in the news this morning. Remember, he won Milan-San Remo back in March. There was a lot of complaints from a few angry riders who weren't happy at the fact that he reportedly held on to a car for one of the climbs. I think it was the Cipressa, they were saying. Now, one of the riders, the oldest rider in the group here, Matteo Tosato, has revealed that he's given evidence to the Italian Cycling Federation that he saw that. They're said to be investigating that, but of course without any real evidence and just one testimony, I find it very, very hard to see how they'd want to or even think about changing any results. So we'll leave that on the back burner and see how it develops. But I I think Arnaud Démare will be looking forward to just getting on with his racing and trying to improve upon his result yesterday. In the meantime, in the breakaway, Dimension Data car comes up to talk to Johan van Zyl. There might be a glass of champagne later on tonight because there's a birthday being celebrated in the Dimension Data team. The only man who has his birthday today in the professional peloton, and it is Cristian Sbaragli, 26 years of age. He's their Italian sprinter. Perfect day to try and celebrate things, but Sbaragli wasn't really in the mix yesterday. I wonder if he can beat the big guys today. Already has a Grand Tour stage to his name. He beat Degenkolb and Sagan last year in the Vuelta a España. Big ask for him today with all the big names, you'd feel there.
Sorry, it's a big ask, but I think it's always possible. When you're a good sprinter and you have won in a big tour before, and he's won against some very big names, he's going to be up there. Yesterday, surprising he wasn't to the fore at all. But again, as I mentioned just a moment ago, it's just so difficult in the end if he gets a wrong position in a corner or at the wrong side where the door closes. Well, then you can get totally messed up and miss the sprint. So he will be definitely trying today, and what a performance would be for him if he could win it on his birthday.
Marcel Kittel nicely placed alongside Bob Jungels, wearing more different colours than any other team today. It takes quick step. Bob Jungels in his national champions jersey of Luxembourg, very similar to the Dutch national champions jersey, a very slightly different shade of blue on the flag. And Kittel, of course, in the points skin suit today. Skin suit because it's warm and he wants to win. 72 for Française des Jeux here is Arnaud Courtet. Courtet riding for Française des Jeux. Experienced rider. He's ridden 2 Giros before, 27 now. Cannondale, the team, still up here to the front. There's a strange nervousness still around. Rigoberto Urán at the back in the green jersey here. Movistar not far away with Alejandro Valverde. And all of this nervousness shows no sign of abating at the minute. I wonder if we're very close to another exposed section here. Astana coming to the front. Narrow roads, everybody wants to be kept safe. Sean, while we're away at the break, we saw a lot of the GC teams come to the fore again. A lot of teams very, very close to the front. 1 minute and 52 is the gap. Just briefly, something might be about to happen with the wind again.
Well, it's looking very nervous there, and we can see just a shot of the riders. Everybody seems to be a little bit nervous there. So are we coming to another section where it opens up? And we did, see what 25 kilometers earlier when it did get out of that open section, the peloton started to blow apart a bit, and we can see there Cannondale with Navardaskas on the front, and when he rides on the front, of course, nothing less than 50-55 k per hour. And when you have a team doing that, they're wondering, are they going to try something here? And that's always, make everybody nervous, and it looks like that it's very tense on front of the peloton.
Talked a lot of the sprinters. What about Elia Viviani and Sky? Didn't see him yesterday. Let's go and hear from him at the start. Elia, today another opportunity for the sprinters. How do you feel? Yeah, we're a lot more motivated. Yesterday we lost the first sprint. It wasn't a good sprint for me. Today we're extra determined to do a good job. We saw yesterday how strong Kittel is, and I think I should try and stay on his wheel if I want to beat him. Yesterday sent quite a strong message, but today we'll give it another try. My problem is that I need to be in a good position. I think I'll make my move a little earlier to be in a better position this time. What about your legs yesterday? How are you feeling? Yeah, I wasn't feeling at my best. I didn't have a great position. I wasn't feeling really well, actually. I think today will be a better today. Certainly for me. I haven't raced since Paris-Roubaix, and maybe that might have been a factor. Yesterday, I broke the ice stone. Let's hope for a good result today. We talked about cheeseburgers before. That's Burger Zoo. Hope there's no relation. Heading towards the town of Arnhem. Apart from the zoo, by the way, there's the National Sports Centre there, the home to the Dutch Olympic team. A lot of the successes come out of Arnhem. The less said about the relationship between cheeseburgers and Burger Zoo, probably the better. Strung out again here. 1 minute and 43. And again, we were talking about the fact that the sprinters probably didn't want the catch to be made very soon at all, but the GC teams are still so nervous here. There's obviously a little threat of exposed wind. You've got all the road furniture in the centre itself. I think it's going to be one of those days we're just going to have to keep his eyes open.
Yes, well, it's the terrain that, you know, decide the tactic of some of the teams as well, and that looks to be the case at the moment. You know, the teams want to just hold their place in the front of the peloton, so you have to keep the pace very high, because the moment you start knocking it off 2-3 kilometers per hour, then there's other riders start coming around. And as we know, some riders do not like to be crowded in the peloton at all. They like to have a bit more space, and as we can see, Cannondale, for example, just one line of riders. If Rigoberto Urán likes that, well, then they're going to continue on, and as we're getting now to 39 kilometers to the finish, I think it's not going to slow down very much. It looks like it's going to be, you know, go all the way to this finish.
Yeah, Navadauskas riding on the front in the green on the left hand side. You can see Urán nicely protected, the Colombian who's been coming to this race for a few years now, trying to win it. This season he's changed teams and now rides in the green of Cannondale. Second in the Giro in 2013 behind Nibali, and in 2014 behind Quintana. He'd have to break a strange record if he was to win it, because the only rider to win his first Giro d'Italia after finishing second twice is Francesco Moser. They've got a Moser in the team, so that might be a good omen. Moser finished second in 77 behind Paulin-Thier, second in 79 behind Saronni, and then he won in 1984. What do you all think is going to happen at home? Lots of possibilities here, lots of nerves. Very quick day so far. Hashtag home of cycling for all your views, please. Throughout this Giro d'Italia, you can get in touch with us and join the conversation, participate with us here on Eurosport. Now you can see that 10 kilometers to go. That's wrong, but we're heading on to the final circuit. Final circuit to be taken on twice. So the riders already getting a good look at what they're going to take on running into the line. A 10 kilometer to go ban will be very important for those sprinters coming in. And look at the crowds again. Yes, it's the weekend, it's Sunday, it's beautiful weather, that helps. But you get the feeling in the Netherlands, Sean, that their passion for this sport is so great that they would, of course, be out there regardless, whatever the weather. 37 Ks to go. Cannondale pulling on the front. 37.5 Ks to go. 2 minutes and 8 seconds for the breakaway of 4 riders. Berlato out there for the second day running, as is Chalingi, who's already taken the King of the Mountains classification. Amezquita and Marcel out there as well. This is the Cannondale team. We said they brought a good team to surround Urán. They're certainly going to have support in the mountains with the youngsters Dombrovski and Formolo. They might not have too much experience in the mountains with those young guys, but they've got a really good road captain in Cy Clark.
Yes, well, first of all, if they've got the form, and I think when, you know, the names you mentioned, if they are really in good form, a lot expected of the young Italian rider Formolo. You know, he's been talked up a lot, so it'll be, you know, interesting. But when you look at, you know, the total team there with Urán, they have a real good team and built around him. And in the classification at the moment, Urán, like, he's in a real good position at 33 seconds. Moreno, Moser also, he's very much up there. He's only at 12 seconds, so maybe they want to keep him up there. Maybe they'll try and do some of the sprint. You always hope, because Moser, he is, you know, quite fast in the sprint, not maybe in the class of Kittel, but again, if you have a good sprint on you, you're always hoping it might be my lucky day. I get a real good position, everything just goes perfect for me, and I get a great run into the finish. And hopefully some of the better sprinters maybe get, you know, squeezed out a bit and not get a run at it. And if you do that, well, then he's in, you know, a very strong position as well.
All different types of cycling. There's the Sportzentrum Papendal. And we're heading in towards the final seconds and the final circuit, pardon me. Going to be first again across the line in those final seconds is Marcel Kittel.
Marcel looking good in red, but maybe looking better in pink after today's stage. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm very happy with the red jersey so far. So I got that with the stage win yesterday, and that will be my main focus also today. Step by step, we are very focused and concentrated now on the third stage, the second sprint, and I hope it works out.
Nice bracelet you gave to all the team, the pink bracelet.
Thank you. Yeah, it should be another sign for us as come together as a team and show our strength. It worked well yesterday, maybe because of the bracelet as well, but for sure because we are a strong team and one unit fighting for one goal.
Thank you. Have a good day today.
Thank you.
Marcel's fashion tips, there you go. Gave all of his teammates a pink bracelet yesterday. He's changed it for red today. Might have to change it back to pink for Italy. Can you see him not finishing in the top three? Surely we're looking at the next pink jersey holder, aren't we?
Yes, very much so. I think all indications are pointing that he should be able to, to get the pink jersey today. But again, as I have mentioned already, and a number of times, the sprint, there's so much goes on there in that final kilometres. Even with a great team, specialist team for the sprints, Kittel, the best sprinter in the world at the moment, you can still get caught out and things can go wrong. But if it's a clear run in for him, then it's very difficult to see him being challenged for the win. And he has to just get up in the top three places. Any bonification at all will do him, but you have to be so concentrated, and you just hope and you just pray a little bit as well that everything goes okay. You don't have any bad luck in the final, because not alone just to get the positions wrong, but also crashes, mechanical problems, there are all of that to be considered. So there's so much in bike racing. It's not like the 100 meters on the track where you just you just set off down there and there's so little can go wrong. But in bike racing, you're out there on the road, a spectator just makes a wrong move and the rider touched them, and then 10, 20 riders can go down. So you could write a book on what can go wrong in the final of a stage in a big 3-week tour.
A lot of doubt as to what might happen towards the end. I think there's even more doubt about which nickname we should be using for Marcel Kittel as well. We suggested yesterday he looked a bit like the Iceman character out of the Top Gun film, Val Kilmer, with his hair all up spiky like that. Ice-cool demeanour in the sprint finishes as well. The Gazzetta dello Sport called him Apollo the Greek god today. And another different Gazzetta columnist in the Italian press said that he looked like Ivan Drago, the fictional boxer from the Rocky IV film, a Hollywood movie. Let us know who you think we should call him as a nickname, or if you've got any more lookalikes, hashtag home of cycling. Off we go into town. Ooh, and this isn't a good moment on the circuit. 7 kilometres to go. It'll be a bit more strung out then, and it's going to have to be, Sean. That's a really dangerous pinch point.
Yes, it is another one, a real serious one, and again, the riders will have the advantage of seeing it, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be safe, depending on how fast it's going. If it's going real fast where it's lined out, well, that will be easier for them to get through.
We're into the town of Arnhem. Thousands and thousands of people on the road. There were 70,000 just at the stage finish yesterday. As I mentioned previously, almost 250,000 on the roads of the Netherlands for the Giro d'Italia. Expecting the same number, if not more today. Even some of the road furniture has been painted pink for us. Lots of different mixture of architecture around Arnhem as we go out onto the outskirts of the city, and it's a beautiful day to be taking in the sunshine. I think there might be a few mobile phones and tablets tuned to Eurosport, the home of cycling down there. Sonsbeek Park. Everybody keeping in touch with the pink race. This is the breakaway, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Johan van Zyl is the South African on the front in the white and black. Behind him for the second day running Chalingi, he's in the yellow. In the fluorescent yellow, red and black, you have Amezquita from Spain. And also alongside them, another man, 2 days running, Giacomo Berlato of Nippo Vini Fantini. This is the peloton strung out, but as of yet, it's not the sprinters' teams taking control. Maglia Rosa Group led by those fighting for the Maglia Rosa. Everybody's a little nervous. Cannondale have done a lot of work today. Obviously really do believe in Rigoberto Uran's challenge. For some of you on Twitter suggesting that maybe we lacked a little bit of respect to rider Huisdahl for suggesting that Uran was now a proper leader, but Huisdahl rode in a very, very different way when he won his own Giro d'Italia. He's a man who tends to lose quite a bit of time early on in the race and get into breakaways later on, as we saw both in the Giro and the Tour last year, Sean.
Yes, well, we see in the Giro last year he lost a lot of time early and came really good in the end because he was in breakaways, long breakaways for a number of days in the final week, and moved up in general classification. To be able to do that, you have to, be in real good shape, because to be in the breakaways and to recover each day to go in the following day or 2 days later, it is, very, very demanding energy-wise. And I think he would not have been allowed in the breakaways if he had been a danger man. So it works a little bit both ways, and he eventually ended up in the top 10, which was a great performance considering where he was earlier on in the race.
Well, he's riding a little differently this time, and he has his team up there. Huisdahl now a Trek Segafredo rider, but also Trek looking to the options of Giacomo Nizzolo today. The break is starting to give it some, trying to fight to stay out here. It's becoming a fast day, this. Normal start, the break going more or less straight away again. No real fight to get in it. But as the wind started to blow, a couple of crashes. If you're tuning in late, I'm afraid to report that Jean-Christophe Perrault, as the first rider to abandon the Giro d'Italia after he crashed on a roundabout earlier on in the day. 2 minutes 11 now as Marcel takes it up. So much further on the side of the roads. 30 kilometers to go. Everyone's in pink. Wonder who they're supporting. Thanks for all your tweets on the Marcel Kittel nickname. It looks as though Johnny Bravo, the cartoon character, seems to be the one that you're all going with. Too many to remember. Of course, his form is certainly deserving of many plaudits and names. So we take a look at Arnhem. Bobridge again, last man, the Australian champion at the back. Nippo Vini Fantini riders down here. That's the team of Damiano Cunego, let's not forget. 136 there's Yuri Filosi, one of their young riders from Italy. Adam Hansen in the red, who's been involved in a little bit of a crash earlier on today. Nothing too serious. By the way, yesterday, off your screens, Christian Knees of Sky also crashed. That was fine to continue. And Pipo Pozzato picked up a puncture in the last 3 kilometers, so was given the same time as everybody else. There's the Arnhem football ground. And this is a look at 3 kilometers to the line. Pink jersey being kept nice and safe, and he's easy to spot as well. Tall on the bike, pink helmet popping out from in the middle of all of those different coloured riders. Plenty of twists and turns on this circuit. It's a 14-kilometre circuit, crossed twice. Twice from when we go through the finish line. Many of them wide, straight urban avenues, dotted with roundabouts though. We've seen those cause problems already today. Route crossing twice over the Nederain River. We've seen them going through the tunnel with 6Ks to go as well. Home straight, 500 metres long, 7.5 metres wide, so wide enough for a big sprint, just like yesterday. And this is our first look at it. Meantime, behind, fight for position at the front. Jan cycling a lot more active on the right-hand side today. Matteo Pelucchi yet to win this season, their sprinter. They're wearing the white and blue jerseys. Marcel Just behind him, Berlato. There's Cialinghi in third, the Dutchman. We have fans from just about all over the world. The Belgians are here. The Luxembourg flags there as well, as is the Colombian and French flags. And of course those Dutch and Italian supporters too. 2 laps to go on this finishing circuit of 14 kilometers around Arnhem. We expect a sprint finish. Super crowds to welcome everybody home. What's the atmosphere back in the peloton right now?
Well, it looks like that things have cooled down a little bit. It's not as active on the front there as it has been for a number of kilometres earlier, and you know the gap 2:27 at the moment, so it looks like a bit of a calm for the moment. But again, as we go onto the laps now, and they will have seen part of this circuit already, we can see it turns quite a lot, you know, lefts, rights, then over bridges and into the tunnels. So I think they're all going to want to, you know, keep their place on the front of the peloton. The general classification men, I feel that, you know, it's not going to slow down a lot now from here on. I think any moment it could start, you know, just going faster, and you have to be in a position, because if you go too far back to move up, it's very, very difficult, as you can see here. So best place to be, hold your place in the top 30 places of the peloton.
Is that the medical car? I think it is, for Adam Hansen. Mentioned he'd been down a little earlier. Just in conversation. He was saying he's feeling a little cornered by that brilliant Grand Tour run he's on. It's almost like he doesn't want to have one off. He just wants to continue, wants to extend the run as long as he can. Anytime he goes down, like the crash in the Tour last year, where he really had to fight through to finish, will just make him that bit more nervous. He's already the record holder. Two and a half minutes is the gap. Peloton rolling behind, everybody bunched together in their teams, looking after general classification contenders, keeping sprinters nice and protected from the elements. Everybody with different jobs to do. A lot of the big names all towards the front. So 2 minutes and 27 seconds is the gap between the 4-man break and the pink jersey group. Pink jersey about to come across his home roads in around 40th place. 2 laps to go. And for the peloton, 28 kilometres. Great noise, super weather. Really couldn't have gone better for the Dutch organisers this so far. Peloton using every little bit of the road. Still 2 minutes 33. How far do we get of an advantage, which seems to be growing out again, before we see the sprint team start to take over and say, hang on a minute, I don't like this, let's get it back under control?
Well, I think some of the sprinters teams, they take it up early. Other ones want to hold off as long as possible, and it's a situation now, you know, who is going to, you know, start riding to close down this gap. 2:36 at the moment with 25 kilometers to go. Will somebody have to, you know, start taking control? Not too far from here now, because that advantage, if the riders out front really start working well together, they could, you know, be putting a little bit of pressure on the peloton. And of course, Giant Alpecin, they're going to say, well, if we ride here, you know, we're going to lose the jersey anyway. But when you're race leader, you have the team with the race leader in that team, well, then you're a bit obliged to control the situation. But of course, Marcel Kittel's team will also want to make sure that they get to this one for a sprint, because he's in a place to take the pink jersey, and the other sprinters as well. And I think there should not be a problem to pull back this breakaway. But again, who is going to, you know, do the big amount of the work, and who is going to take it up first, because they all want to hold off as long as possible to keep as many men for the sprint as possible.
Yeah, for Ethics Quickstep as well, this is their best chance of the pink jersey. They haven't brought a general classification contender. They'll be looking for stage wins in different ways throughout the Giro. They do have guys who are looking to maybe get top 20, top 10 on GC. A couple of riders, you mentioned one of them earlier, which is Peter Seri. They also have Carlos Verona with them as well. But Marcel Kittel being 1 second behind the lead overall of the race leader Tom Dumoulin has the best chance here through the courtesy of bonus seconds to move into pink. And remember, he doesn't really have to win the stage. I'm sure he wants to do, but he could even finish third, take those 4 bonus seconds and take the pink jersey. No doubt though that they'll be going all in to take the win. Amesqueta's played his part, and here we go. Ethics Quickstep pulling things on the front. Looking behind, where's the rest of my team? Here we go. Pretty sure it wasn't an attack, and there's confirmation. That was Wisniewski coming to the front. Game through that 10k to go barrier, so this is just after where they entered on the circuit last time round, and we were wondering when sprint teams were going to take this up. Sean, there's your answer.
Yes, Ethics Quickstep, of course, yeah, they want to be sure that this one's come down to a sprint.
We're approaching the final 20 kilometres of stage 3 of this Giro d'Italia. Ever since the stage was revealed, presented to the public, it should have been a nailed-on sprint stage. It is probably going to be that, but with the 4-man break just extending their advantage to over 2.5 minutes, Berlato, Amesqueta, Cialinghi and Marcel, it means that the sprint teams, led by Peter Seri of Ethics Quickstep, have just come to the front to relieve the general classification teams of the work. Lampre Merida for Sacha Modolo have just started to help them as well, and the chase is on. No reason to be worried just yet, Sean Kelly, that it isn't going to be a sprint, I don't think, though.
Well, I think they're playing safe, you know, take it up, still with just 23 kilometres to go, advantage just over 2.5 minutes, and Peter Seri, he's the poor one who has to start riding on the front, and I presume Bramati, he's looking at the ride as well. Seri is not going to be of any great help in the final to lead out the sprint, because he's not that type of rider. He's more a good climber. He's, you know, not able to fight to be up there, so use him up, and you know, he should be able to hold on the peloton later on as well, because in general classification he's still very good there. He's at 32 seconds, so he's their general classification man, but he can ride here. Make sure they keep a good strong pace and keep this advantage as it is, as you know, 2:30 at the moment, and then when the other teams will want to take it up inside the final 20-25 kilometres, it should not be a problem to close it down, and you know, it's looking more so that it's going to be one of these big one sprints again. And looking at that final run in there, again, it's a bit of a difficult one because it just turns around different to yesterday. It went around in the other direction. Today we're going around to the left, and yesterday went around to the right. You cannot see the finish line until you get into the final 200 metres. And that's always a danger one as well when it's being led out, riders moving over. You have to make sure that you go at the right side of the lead out train, and you do not get, you know, closed, the gap, the door do not get closed on you.
Peter Seri, the Belgian, was chasing these 4 down. We have a South African, Italian, a Dutchman and Amesqueta, the Spaniard. The Dutchman is riding in and around his hometown here in Arnhem. Mark Cialinghi in the break yesterday, in it today. He already has a prize. That will be the King of the Mountains jersey after he won the mountain sprint early on today. A lot of the general classification contenders are wary of exactly what is going on here. They know that there are narrow roads. They still want to compete with the sprint trains to be up there, and this is where it's going to get faster, more nervy, and I think it's going to be a rather good watch towards the end. We saw Villa Triestina southeast, very, very close to the front. They're working for Jakub Maričko. There's another little subplot in the sprints in this Giro, and that is that the Italians are fighting for the right to lead the national team at the World Championships in Doha later this year. National coach Davide Cassani no longer works in the television commentary box with the national broadcaster Rai, but he is at the Giro and he's following his riders with interest. That sprinter from Villa Triestina, is Jakub Mareczko, the Italian from Brescia. We'll be back right after this. Can Marcel Kittel make it 2 from 2? 18.9 kilometers to go. His team has just started to go to work. 2 minutes and 4 seconds. It was looking like the break were just holding their advantage for a while. They had 2.5 minutes. 4 men in the break. Berlato, Amezquita, Cialinghi yet again, and Marcel there as well. This is stage 3. We're going to Arnhem. It's the final of 3 stages in the Netherlands. The 3rd time that the Giro d'Italia has visited this country. We're taking a few late bottles and gels on, maybe due to the warm conditions today. Normally no feeding inside the last 20 kilometers, but Sean, you can see that the commissaire's on board with it. He's waving everybody through.
We can see the riders just calling their team car, so I think it's been pushed out because of the warm conditions. Often the case that the commissaires allow, to go maybe 15 kilometers from the finish. You're allowed to take fresh bottles and stuff from the car.
Average speed up to 42.7 kilometers per hour. It's ending up a very, very quick day. Welcome back to our viewers on Eurosport in the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland. 4-man breaks still out there. Marcel, Cialinghi, Amezquita and Berlato. In the last 2 kilometers, 30 seconds has been taken out of the breaks advantage by Peter Seri. Doing a really good job for Ethics Quick-Step. Not taking any chances. Sean, were they just hanging around and waiting, trying to see if anyone else was going to do the work for them?
They certainly were. I think Ethics were just, bluffing it a bit, and they were seeing who else was going to, start riding on the front. And around that 20 kilometre mark, it was 2.5 minutes. So it's getting into that point where, it's getting a little bit risky. So they put Peter Seri on the front. They have also put other riders there from Quick Step now, and they're the ones who are taking down this advantage under 2 minutes at the moment.
17 kilometers to go. It just goes under 2 minutes, but yesterday they really didn't believe in their chances. There was a very, very small gap with quite a very lot of kilometers still to go. Today they believe a bit more, and they are riding their hearts out in the break to make it very, very difficult for Ethics Quick-Step, led by Peter Seri, chasing them down. Talking of Peter Seri, we managed to talk to him before the start of the day. Here he is.
We are seeing this nice bracelet that you are wearing, and today is an important day for Fight for Pink. You're in Ethics Quick-Step. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, we are really close today. It's 1 second. So that's a present of Marcel Kittel. He gave everybody of the team this nice present, Brazilian. And it gave us some extra morale. It's also a text on it. We fight for pink and glory. So it's really nice to have it.
Very nice from someone that is like a new arrival to the team, no? To also to have this spirit with all of you.
He shows he is a real leader, and that's show and give us really a lot of extra morale for this.
Yeah, after yesterday victory, it must be also the morale must be very high also.
Yeah. Of course, the pressure is off now, but now we fight for the pink. So today we hope to can have another victory. I think I saw the sprint yesterday, so we go a block and ride full gas for him.
Thank you. Good luck for today.
Thank you.
Talking of riding a block, look at this. The wind's blowing a bit again on those exposed sections. It's so fast at the front, 60 kilometers per hour here, Sean. Riders are being dropped out of the back already with 15 k's to go.
Yes, well, splits occurring, and it's not surprising with the rate they're going up front, and you just get a little section where there's a bit of an open, and the wind blows, and of course anybody who is in the tail end of the peloton, they're going to have gaps open, and some riders in here, they're probably not feeling good. And when you leave, the wheel go in front, well then immediately it's 3, 4, 5 bike lengths, and that's what we have seen there. There was a number of groups starting to lose contact.
keep our eyes open for any big numbers, any big names who are caught out in that final group. At the minute, Ethics Quickstep are working wonderfully well together. They have a new Tony Martin, if you will, not quite as big and as powerful as the main man who's not here at this race, but Łukasz Wisniewski, in his second year as a professional, is already very, very highly rated when he gets on the front of a bike race. He's been helping Peter Seri out. Carlos Verona, the climber, has been doing a couple of good turns as well. The advantage, though, is at 1 minute and 41. Talking of advantages, everybody, including GC riders, is wanting to be up the front again, Sean, because a few riders being dropped off, already almost 20 seconds of a gap, pardon me, behind the chasing group and the Maglia Rosa group. And this is where it could get serious for anybody caught out here at the back. 1, 2, 5, there's Javi Moreno. Also caught out a couple of riders from AG Desert Mondial, one of them being Dupont, one being Oul, and it's already been a bad enough day for them, losing Jean-Christophe Perrault. Maximum concentration and effort required in these final 15 kilometres.
Yes, and anybody in that group tailed off, I think they're no hope for general classification.
Already finished.
Yes, but again, you're hanging around the rear, so you're not really thinking of general classification, and that's where you're wide open to getting caught out and a group left behind. And we will see some of those riders coming in, losing a number of minutes. But I think general classification men all around the front here, and that's where they're going to stay in that top end of peloton.
Yeah, 191, we saw the Tinkoff rider Rafał Majka. This really isn't his thing. Esteban Chavez the same in there. Small, light climbers, doesn't want to be caught out in this. The bell is going to ring here. 14 kilometres to go. They're a kilometre on the road ahead of the Maglia Rosa group. 1 minute and 35 in terms of time that translates to. 4 riders still in the break, and they're giving it one heck of a go here. Bellato, Amezquita, Cialinghi and Van Zyl trying to pull off a famous result at the Giro d'Italia. And with 1.5 minutes, it's probably still just about in the balance with 14 Ks to go. Well, the bell is ringing. 1 lap to go. Still game on, Sean?
Well, it's very much game on, and we can see here, the breakaway guys are really giving it everything now. And the interesting one back in the peloton, it's Ethics Quickstep who are the ones who have to ride, and there's not a lot of teams getting involved with them. And I think they're playing that tactic, leave Ethics Quickstep, burden their men. That way for Marcel Kittel, he's not going to have the super lead out train, and they're thinking that's the only way we can challenge Marcel Kittel for this stage victory, because when you look at the way he just dominated yesterday in that sprint, untouchable.
Yam Cycling trying to do their bit as well. It must mean that Matteo Pellucci is feeling better. Has not won all season, but the team really do believe in him. They've had to try and work very, very hard on their lead-out train. They ended a 2-month wind drought really recently when Sonderholz Enger took the last stage of the Tour of Croatia. He became the first rider in Yam Cycling colours to take a win since Lee Howard in Almeria. Squad now having 5 wins this season. So Ethics Quickstep, Lampre Merida, Yam Cycling all on the front. They get a roar as they come through the finish. 1 lap for them to go. 3 teams now contributing. I think it's swung very much back in the favour of the peloton and the sprinters, because the gap is being decimated to 104.
Yes, I think the advantage is coming down, and that is when you have just the next couple of riders from each team, well then the gap is coming down, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. That just the pace is going to go faster and faster, and it's going to be very, very difficult for us to see those guys holding on. They are going to hold out for quite a while, but again, there's going to be more teams put guys on the front, and that's when the gap will come down much quicker.
Van Zyl on the right side attacks. Johan Van Zyl to continue this. He was obviously wary of the fact that they weren't putting enough in. This, though, could kill the whole break for everybody else, Sean.
Yes, this will really kill it off. They need to try and stay together and continue on working all 4. But when you have a guy who wants to attack, he feels that he's much stronger, and the others are not contributing their best, their 100%. Well, then you get one attack, and this is going to, I think the advantage is going to come down very quickly, because back in the peloton is just going to go much faster in the final 5 kilometres.
Well, we will see, but for the moment, I think from the layperson's point of view, from the long view and a distant view at this, Johan Van Zyl has just given a huge gift to the sprinters. We shall see. We'll see how it develops. 1 minute and 2 seconds. That gap going down and down and down. 12 kilometers to go. We are off for our final break before the big finale itself. Keep it here on the home of cycling. Johan van Zyl alone on the front of the race. He's the sole survivor of a four-man breakaway. He has 52 seconds on the chasing peloton that's very, very nervous behind. 10 kilometers to go, and there's just been a very big crash towards the back of the peloton. Grossu, the Romanian sprinter from Nippo Vini Fantini, down and out. Dilia down as well. He will not contest the sprint, and he was looking one of the worst off of the lot. He was actually getting seen to the doctor. Vorobyev crashing. It's going to be a nightmare for him to get down. Arnaud Demar, I think, just escaped it, but the majority of his lead-out train was down as well, so it's going to have to be somebody else, not Francis Deschamps, to take it up today. Murillo Fischer, one of those crashing behind. Sean, it was really, really nervous, but I think all of the big leaders just escaped it.
Yes, well, we did not see any of the big leaders, and a lot of riders down. We mentioned some of the names there, but there was a lot involved in it, and some of the riders got delayed as well. So it's, we can see here it's just real nervous times, and we're still in that part of the circuit where, it's sunshine, then you're into the shade, and that's always very, very dangerous. With your shades, it's difficult to see exactly, and when you're changing the light all the time, a touch of wheels and down they go. And Armand de Marais, of course, he lost a lot of riders. We see at least 3 to 4 riders from FDJ on the ground, although the last time he won a big one in Milan-San Remo, he came from a crash himself, so will that be the lucky one for today?
Well, that was the talked about one overnight.
And it's been still talked about.
The less said about that, I think, the better. Here's Johan van Zyl. He's about to ride himself into the longest breakaway lead. We talked about this Fuga Pinarello prize throughout the Giro last year. We talked about it yesterday. Merlato had been in there. Of course, he had an extra few kilometers, so he will still just about lead the prize. But the longest break on the day, I think, is going to go to Johan van Zyl, who's still out there. Cellini, in the meantime, just enjoying himself, riding into town. He'll be on the podium at the end. Oh, it's fast behind. It is very fast. It's very furious. A very, very small group. And it is really, really well strung out. A lot of riders caught up in this crash behind. We don't think any of the big leaders, though, as Cellini is about to be reeled in. Top job from him. 2 days in a row in the breakaway. 8.5 kilometers. And the focus goes from him and those riders who are out there in front to those behind trying to set up the sprint. Still, it's Yam cycling. We saw, not far from the front, Andre Greipel doing a lot of riding. All on his own as well.
Yes, he looks to be just on his own there, and it's surprising that there are not more of the sprinters teams getting involved here, because still the minute with just 8 kilometers to go, so the sole man out front is doing a great job. He's riding at a very strong pace, and they have to get it together a bit more to close this one down, because if there's a little bit of downtime, they start looking at each other, then this guy could go a long way.
We saw it last year, didn't we, on the flat stage that was designed, nailed on for the sprinters on the east coast of Italy. Won in the end by Nicola Bohem from a 4-man breakaway. When Johan van Zyl went and attacked there, you and I looked at each other to say, oh, come on, what are you doing? Killed the opportunities of the breakaway. I think we might have some words to be eaten if they continue to look at each other. 7.5 kilometers to go, 55 seconds to break. They can't afford to leave it too much longer before somebody takes it up at the front again. Van Zyl for Dimension Data, South African rider, took the biggest win of his career last year when he was at the Tour of Austria. He'd won previously in Korea, he'd won previously at the Tour of Rwanda as well, one of the top races in Africa. Now Lotto NL Jumbo, riding for Moreno Hofland, do not want to waste an opportunity on home roads. Here come Lotto Soudal on the left-hand side as well. And I think, again, Marcel Kittel's team, perhaps just trying to call everyone's bluff, Sean.
Yes, well, they did, just start the riding with Peter Seri, and then, of course, when you do that, there's other teams want to get involved, but I think they were expecting maybe more teams to start riding, and we can see the answer to that is this advantage is still holding on quite well, but we're going to get more teams in the final kilometres, just under 7 kilometres. We can see 38 seconds. When they're a team just really go to the front and give it their 100%, well, then the advantage come down so quickly.
36, it continues to tumble with 6.5 kilometers to go under those railway tracks. This is one of the biggest railway stations in the Netherlands, we're told, here in Arnhem. Oh, and we've had another crash. This time it belongs to riders from the race leaders team. Tom Dumoulin was there. He's knocked down. Bert de Backer is the man who's been so good in Paris-Roubaix in the last few years, and that is a man, a fast man, an important man missing to keeping Dumoulin safe towards the end of the day. Nikias aren't there as well, and he's their sprinter. So no sprint chances for Giant Alpecin. This is what happened. Right in the middle of the group as well, catching quite a few riders out. Bert de Backer on the left-hand side, on the right, Nikias Arndt, and you can see expletives flying out of his mouth because he knows, Sean, that the chance today has gone.
Yes, well, it's over. 5 and 7 to go, and when you come down at this point to get back in there, the way it's going at the moment, with a number of teams starting to speed it up because of the situation out front with a lone breakaway rider at 32 seconds, they're going to have to really keep it going. Normally at this point it would be going anyway, but more so because of the situation up front.
Villiers Southeast coming to the front. They must really believe in Jakub Mareczko's chances here. Mareczko up against the likes of Nizzolo, Viviani. Arndt is out of it, remember. Caleb-Ewan is there though. Porsev is out of it after crashing as well. We think that he might have got back on in the back of the group, but how much has it taken off him? Moreno Hofland is there. His team have been working in the yellow. Lotto NL Jumbo, he's a Dutch sprinter. Andre Greipel has his team in red up there as well. The German sprinter from Lotto Soudal. Sacha Modolo there for Lampre Merida. Pelucchi is Yam Cycling Sprint Hope. They've been doing a lot of the work today. Arnaud Demar all on his own after much of his lead-out train has crashed and has been struggling to get back on behind. Christian Speragli, if his teammate gets caught, might want to have a go on his birthday. The 26-year-old Nicola Ruffoni we saw up in the top 10 yesterday in the green of Bardiani. But the question is, who can beat Marcel Kittel as it goes to 51 seconds again? I think we'll have to try and take a rain check on that one because it seemed to be at 35 seconds a minute ago, but you never know. It doesn't look as fast as maybe it should do behind, Sean.
Well, maybe the time check we got a little bit earlier of just 39 seconds around that was not the correct one. This looks like a bit more, 46 seconds, because it did come down suddenly, very quickly.
Suddenly, very quickly. 4.4 kilometers to go, and those sprinter teams have to go to work. There is Martin Cilingi out there with the man he's been in with the breakaway all day, Julem Amiskita, and here we go. Ethics Quickstep decide it's too late here, and they have to take it up now. Sprinters teams starting to panic. 4 kilometers to go. Johan van Zijl against the odds, still having 32 seconds, but this is a long straight road and the gap starts to go down. Bob Jungel said he put in a huge turn of around 2 kilometers yesterday. He was riding 58-tooth chain rings in the time trial on day one, and he's trying to do a big effort to bring this back for the sprinters teams and for the hopes of Marcel Kittel, who today, by the way, if you want to look out for him, wears red, the points leader's jersey on his back. No blue shorts either. He's got the red skin suit on, and he'll be hoping to exchange that red skin suit for a pink one on the next stage. Can he be the race leader? Certainly shown off the jersey over the last 2 days as Martin Cilingi on home roads.
I have a jersey.
He does have a jersey. He has blue, but will his mate from the breakaway have a bit more today? 3.3 kilometers to go. Van Zijl's advantage is being eaten into rather quickly by Bob Jungels, but while he's still out there, you just never know. 18 seconds now, and it's looking a lot less good for him, Sean, than it did a minute ago.
No, it's not going to be possible. We can see here the peloton just, they can't see him just out there, and it's coming down just rapidly. And the way the peloton are going at the moment, Jungels, as you mentioned, like he can ride at 60 kilometers per hour for a number of kilometers, and those teams here now will just, certainly, take control. And when you see a guy at this with 2.8 kilometers, 15 seconds is nothing with those guys in the front of the peloton.
There's Peter Seri in the blue on the right hand side at the back. He's the man that did most of the work to bring this back. Tom Dumoulin, the pink jerseys, keeping himself nice and safe up to the front for the moment. 2.5 kilometers to go. Remember, he wants to finish in the group, and he'll be hoping that Marcel Kittel doesn't finish either first, second or third, because if he does, he will take bonus seconds, 10, 6 or 4 respectively, and move into the pink jersey. So The pink jersey's up for grabs today. The stage win is up for grabs. Can Kittel make it 2 from 2 and continue that wonderful 100% win record in his Giro d'Italia stages? It's his 4th Giro road stage. He's won the 3 previous ones, and his team are bringing him up to the front now, nicely positioned with 2 kilometers to go. He's in the red jersey, 3rd wheel back as you look at right in the center of the group. It's going to be a fight for position. So the brake's going to be caught, no doubt about that. 4 seconds is the gap you can see. Great effort there from Marcel on the left-hand side. Ethics Quickstep have taken it up. Sean, though, are they going to have enough left, having brought it back already?
Well, I think they should have, because they haven't done a huge amount all day, so they should have, enough power left with the riders they've got there. When you look at the specialists for the lead-out sprint, and at the moment they're just sitting there waiting. They know just hold position here on the front of the peloton with 2 or 3 men. Keep Kittel in the position. We can see here there's 2 men in front of Kittel, and they're just holding and waiting. And we can see the rider there on the front holding off as for as long as possible.
It's Wisniewski doing all the work on the front. Just behind him, wearing 64, is Bob Jungels has been there on the left-hand side as Jungels peels off. It's now Bardiani who take it up. They're looking for Nicola Ruffoni, their sprinter who was up there earlier on today. He was really good yesterday. Katusha still have Vorobyev in there, so he's got back in really well here. Pink jersey of Lampres. We're approaching the final kilometre. Carlos Berona's been doing a good job too. Taking it up now, 67, who is Matteo Trentin. And what can Caleb Ewan produce? Caleb Ewan wearing 1-4 through. He has Sam Bewley to bring him up to the front as we're into the final kilometre. Ethics Quickstep the favourite, Sean, but it's still anybody's race, this.
Yes, it's very much anyone's race. We can see there Ethics Quickstep trying to keep control with Trentin doing a good job. De La Cruz also there, so Kittel definitely in a real good position for the moment.
Trentin on the front then, about to turn around. Remember, it's the last 500 metres of the straight. You can see Giacomo Nizzolo dropped off in the right position. Sbaragli is there in the white and black as well. 450 metres to go. It's Sabatini who's going to try and lead it out now for Kittel. Just on Kittel's wheels, Viviani. Nizzolo's waiting there as well. We need to see this with 300 metres to go. It's Sabatini that's pulling it along. Sabatini in the blue there. Kittel waiting for a long time to launch his sprint this time. Kittel in the red though is about to hit the front in the middle. It is Kittel on his wheel in the black. It's Viviani behind. Kittel though, nobody can get near him. Kittel by a long way, and it's 2 from 2. Nobody can touch Marcel Kittel. Winning at a canter. Greipel nowhere to be seen. Viviani was there, Nizzolo there as well. But Marcel Kittel is imperious, untouchable, and he wins his fight for pink. Marcel Kittel in a superb performance to win the stage and take the pink jersey in a nice, very nice touch. Andre Greipel comes in away down. The gentleman sprinter he is, shakes his hand, says well done. Marcel Kittel though, the winner on the day, and a very well deserved pink jersey, Sean.
Yes, well, Kittel, we cool in the final, just staying in the position, and again, when he just opens up his sprint, amazing the power the guy has got. We could see him, he just went away from everybody again, 2-3 bike lengths at least.
Nobody can touch him. Great job from Sabatini in the lead out. Kittel didn't have to go until very late indeed. And he was still pulling away from everyone else as he took stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia. Kittel wins from Viviani and Nizzolo. Greipel managing to push himself up into 4th place, with Porsev taking a very good 5th. But all the glory on the day to the man who's about to exchange red for pink. Marcel Kittel, and this is how it happened from the air, Sean. Kittel in the red at the back here.
Yes, and we can see here with Nizzolo just starting to push a little bit there, but Kittel, so strong, so powerful, holding the wheel of his teammate, and just waiting, and exactly the same as he was yesterday, except it was a little bit of a different situation. He was following the train of FDJ. Today he had the teammates in front, and he just hung around there and not going too close to the front, staying back, 3rd position, 4th position, and taking it up very late. And that's the confidence, that you can correct the situation, when he did just go for nobody matching him.
Kittel winning the stage. Superb win for Marcel Kittel. We said Greipel came in way down. It certainly seemed that way. All of them did. Kittel absolutely imperious. And we're off in a minute to dissect the stage with Ashley House and Juan Antonio Fletcher. So the gents are waiting. We're waiting to hear from them, and we'll hopefully hear from this man as he moves into the pink jersey. Marcel Kittel, the winner of stage 3 of this Giro d'Italia.